All right, good evening, everybody. It is the Safety and the Sportswriter Show with Knoxville, Nate, and Big Joe on Thursday night, the 12th of February. Football season has officially come to an end. We go into the off season now. We're breaking down drafts and getting ready for all the things that are going to be going on in the off season, looking at where the new coaches are going to be going. But we're going to put a little wrap on this past season, things we liked, things we didn't like, and look forward to next season. The Super Bowl, ultimately, disappointment. Not really competitive. The best team won. You can only say that. The best team did win. As I said last week when I was making my picks, my heart was with the Patriots, but my head said the Seahawks, and the Seahawks didn't disappoint. Nate, overall, what did you think of the Super Bowl?
I think that is the third straight Super Bowl that I've picked the correct winner. I didn't nail the score this year like I did the previous two, but I still give myself some credit for picking the correct team 3 years in a row. I didn't think it would be this lopsided, but I knew from the first moment that it possibly could be because the Patriots' offensive line was outmanned. It honestly looked a lot like the Super Bowl from the year before with the Eagles defensive line just dominating the Chiefs offensive line. I mean, the Patriots had no answer. They were getting knocked 3 and 4 yards back every single play. When you can't base block, there's nothing you can do. You can't run the football. You can't pass the football. I mean, people can blame Drake May all they want, but he was banged up and he had no time to throw. He had no lanes to run in. Even when he had time, he was scared about the previous times when he didn't have time, and there was really nothing he could do. So I felt bad for him, but still, an unbelievable season to flip the script like that from 4-13, to winning. What did they win? 16, 17 games this year with only three losses. So. Still amazing season.
Yeah, it's not like it just not to transpose a little bit. I mean, at least you got a young coach, a youngish coach with a young quarterback and a team that you would imagine is only going to get better. So that's going to be sad for the New England Patriots. They're a year ahead of schedule, if not 2 years ahead of schedule, getting to the Super Bowl. So they did, they did what. In a way, they did what Buffalo should have done with the fact that you didn't have to. There was no Kansas City and no Baltimore around. They took care of business. A lot of things went their way. Their defense played well, and they rode it to as far as they can ride it. Now, I've always been a Darnold detractor, but this is now 3 years in a row, and he has won the big game. And is this? I remember I was young when it happened. It kind of parallels what happened to Jim Plunkett in a way when he came out of Stanford in the early 70s, Heisman Trophy winner, gets banged around with the New England Patriots, gets kicked over to San Francisco, can't get the starting job there, ends up in Oakland and wins a couple of Super Bowls. Could this be the start of Sam Darnold becoming one of the upper echelon quarterbacks? Or is this one of those things where next year you figure the Rams are going to be good again? San Francisco's retooling. He's going to have a tough time repeating with that division just to go through to begin with.
Yeah, I think so. And let's be honest. I mean, Sam Darnold didn't win the Super Bowl. I mean, the Seahawks defense won them the Super Bowl, and Kenneth Walker was unbelievable, running for almost 140 yards. The Patriots had no answer as far as being able to tackle Kenneth Walker. I mean, even when he would cut outside for an outside zone play and they would actually set the edge, which they rarely did all night. But even when they did that, he'd cut back and get 7 or 8 yards, with an unbelievable cutback move. So nothing against Sam. Kudos to him for what he did the last 2 years, not just this year, but the last 2 years, which was playing just, good enough to help his team win. But they didn't win because of him in this game. And, for the most part, they didn't win because of him all season. He led the NFL with turnovers. He fumbled the ball. He threw interceptions. And if they're going to come anywhere close to repeating next year, he's going to have to be better because, they're not going to be able to run like that. And they're not going to get as far as they did. I'm astonished that they were able to win a Super Bowl with him leading the NFL in turnovers. That's just an oxymoron. That's something that usually doesn't happen. But still, he didn't turn the ball over in the playoffs at all. So maybe that's a little taste of what's to come, and maybe he figured some things out. And that's what it's all about. If he can not turn the ball over, this team can do some things because they're very well coached. I don't know if you saw the little jab at Mike Vrabel, but in the post-game ceremony, they hand Coach McDonald the Super Bowl trophy, and everybody's like, "Oh, he doesn't win Coach of the Year," and Coach McDonald's like, "I'll take this in case, just in case, instead of the Coach of the Year trophy any day." So he did a phenomenal job, and we'll see what this offense looks as well without Kubiak. Look at the Eagles, man. They made the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. They looked great. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, but still looked really good doing it. The following year, they lost both coordinators, didn't do so well. Then they got new coordinators, ran it back, won the Super Bowl. Then they lost their offensive coordinator, and their offense wasn't any good. So, there's no guarantees from year to year.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then, you don't know some of their players are going to get picked off. Always happens. So it's going to be interesting what we examine that during the off season. And, we'll see there. When you look back on this season, the shocking storylines that really disappointed you and the storylines outside of the Seahawks and Patriots that excited you.
The storyline that disappointed me, I guess number one would probably be, the performance of the Chiefs. For whatever reason, they could not get things going all year long. And, their offensive line had been an issue for several years, and it finally caught up with them. And then, what happened to them as well is that the last several years, they were in a bunch of close games and they won almost all of them. This year, the pendulum swung the other way, and, they were only 5-4 at home, and then they were 1-7 on the road, 3-9 against other AFC teams. So just a complete differential from the year before. So that to me was very disappointing. The other thing that was disappointing me was I always call them the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought maybe bringing in Pete Carroll might, improve some things. I thought that he might at least get, some discipline, some order to the team, in his own way. And, they got worse. They were worse than they were the year before, and ended up going 3-14 and just were an atrocious football team, maybe the worst football team in all of football. And, ended up firing Coach Carroll after 1 year. But, what's hilarious to me is these franchises that have owners that have no clue what they're doing. They hire accomplished coaches to come in, and then, after one season, when the coach doesn't completely turn their program around, they fire them like it's their fault. That cracks me up.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Jerry Jones way of doing things has invented football. But Jerry Jones actually knows a little football. I mean, he played it in college. He's one of those guys that, immersed himself in it too. Even as things turned out usually bad for him, he can usually get a playoff team together and get a competitive team together. Not like Mark Davis, who you would think growing up in the Oakland or the Raider organization, learning from his father, he would have learned a few of his father's tricks and philosophies that could have helped him at least get them out of it. It's a shame that, the hockey team in Vegas is more exciting to the public out there than the football team.
Yeah, well, this guy can't even get his hair cut correctly. So why would we think, he could run a football team? But I will give some credit to the Chicago Bears. They had their best season in a long time, won the NFC North. I think another disappointing season was the Detroit Lions. They were another team that lost both of their coordinators. Obviously, their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, went on to be the head coach for the Jets. Their offensive coordinator went on to be the head coach of the Bears, and things did not work out for them. They finished last in the NFC North, and that's in a division against going against the Minnesota Vikings, who had no quarterback for the entire season. So very disappointing there for the Detroit Lions, and hopefully Dan Campbell can turn that thing back around. But he's going to have to get some good assistant coaches to come back in and help him out.
Yeah, he's going to have to do that, and plus he's got to maybe get some depth. And the other thing is they're going to be playing in a tough division again. You've got to figure that depending on who the Vikings get as their quarterback, Green Bay's going to run it back, Chicago's going to run it back. You hate to think his window is closing, but he might need a little bit more out of Goff than he's used to getting out of Goff. I mean, not that the Goff has done bad there. In fact, he's been fantastic, but he's always thought of as the game manager, whether that's right or wrong. And really, he's going to have to win some games with him, even with that great running attack. All right, like I said, I saw this article, and it's weird. So we're not going to go totally crazy with it, but they ranked, as of right now, who the 32 starting quarterbacks are in the NFL. And I want to go over a couple ones to get to. Of course, they ranked Shedeur Sanders as last, which, of course, he only started 7 games. We'll see what he ever develops into. I'm not going to say right or wrong right now, but right now he does not. He's a definite work in progress. 31st was Justin Fields. I think Justin is heading for being a backup for his career. What do you think about Justin? He's had 3 shots at this. I mean, I thought it was unfair what happened to him in Chicago, and kind of unfair what happened to him in Pittsburgh. New York, bad situation, but still, I mean, 3 strikes, tough to come back from. What do you think?
He played pretty well, honestly, last year for the Steelers. He was 5-2 as a starter.
4-2, yeah.
4-2, 5-2 as a starter. I think he played in another game too that they won, but I don't think he started it. But he was at least 4-2 and looked pretty good and was leading them to victories. But then, he made a bad decision to go to New York. I know he got paid. I know he got money. But that's money. Going for the money is not always the best option.
No.
And going to the New York Jets was the absolute worst decision he could make. Do I think that he's a horrible player? No. And people forget this because at the beginning of the season, through about the first 6 or 7 games, he was the best player on the Jets offense. He was the only player. And that's what was sad because he had to run it. He had to throw it, and mostly running it. He was running for his life. But that was the only way they could get any offense was him running the football. Do I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL at this point? Probably not. Do I think he could go somewhere and be a backup and improve? Yeah. This guy needs to do the Mac Jones. He needs to do the Sam Darnold. He needs to do the Daniel Jones. He needs to go. Daniel Jones went to Minnesota and learned under Kevin O'Connell. Darnold, his biggest plus was going to San Francisco and learning under Shanahan. Fields needs to do the same thing. If I were Justin Fields, I would try to get in San Francisco because Brock Purdy can't stay healthy for 17 games. He'll get a chance to play some. He'll get on a good team with a good running game, a good offensive line, and learn to play. But, will he do that? Probably not. But that would be the smart move for him because he's not, he's just no one thinks of him as a starter anymore. And, for better or worse, That's where he's at. And, he screwed himself over by going to the Jets. But, everybody said that Aaron Rodgers sucked too because of his season with the Jets. And then, he went to the Steelers and they made the playoffs. So it's the Jets that suck. And unfortunately, he made the dumb decision to go there, and that may have ended his career.
All right, 30th. I don't know how he.
Wait, I got to say one more thing though. You brought up Shador. What are you talking about? Shador is the worst quarterback. He made the Pro Bowl, bro.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here's the number 30 man who could be the 31st, 32nd, or 31st. Could be anywhere there. J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings were 9-8, kind of in spite of him. 11 TDs, 12 interceptions. 1,600 yards in 10 games. He can't stay healthy. You're wasting Justin Jefferson's best years and Kevin O'Connell's best years as a coach. I mean, how many? Kevin O'Connell needs to get a quarterback so he can, if he's going to compete with the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions, and they've saddled him with one of the worst quarterbacks in football. So, I mean, not much to talk about there. I don't know if you want to add anything to it. He's just been god awful.
The only thing I will say is the fact that they were able to come away and win, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row to close the season was unbelievable, and shows you what an unbelievable coach Kevin O'Connell is, and B, what an unbelievable defensive coordinator Brian Flores is, because they came together and won games in spite of having a horrible situation at quarterback. And their general manager, thumbed his nose at Sam Darnold. Darnold goes to the Super Bowl. These guys couldn't even make the playoffs, and obviously he got fired for it, and he should have.
Okay, 29th, they're ranking Cam Ward. Too early to tell. His rookie year didn't play that awful. 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns. Didn't really throw a lot of interceptions, but
he got better as the year went on and was playing good football. Towards the end of the season, were they awesome? No, but they won 2 out of their last 5, and they were, in most of those games until the last game of the year against the Jaguars. They got blown out, but other than that, he started to show some promise, and that's what we wanted to see. He looked like a rookie quarterback starting, and didn't have any help around him. So I think they have the most cap room, I think, of any team in the NFL. He threw for 3,100 yards, like you said, 15 touchdowns and only 7 picks. So I think you're going to see him improve if they can, improve the team around him.
All right, then Geno Smith is 28th. I think Geno was a nice story a couple of years ago when he was the reclamation project in the Seahawks. He's in his 30s now. I think he might have seen his high watermark there. I think he's probably going to be looked at as a backup the rest of his career, because of course the Raiders have to draft they're going to draft number 1 and take Mendoza. So Geno's going to look for work elsewhere or settle for being a backup out there.
Yeah, they may keep him and have him start, the first few games of the season so that Mendoza can learn behind him. But I agree with you. I think his days as a starter are numbered. Is that his fault? Is that what the team around him? Is it both? I think it's both.
Yeah. Tua, 27th with the Miami Dolphins, a defensive-minded coach coming down there. Big and a lot of interceptions this year for him. One thing you always liked about Tua was his accuracy, and that didn't play out too well this year for him. McDaniel, they kind of salvaged their year after getting off to a crappy start, but still, I think he's gonna get a challenge from the kid on the bench to be the starting quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, I think his days are probably numbered. 2,600 yards and 15 interceptions, QBR of 37.5. He was not good, and ended up getting benched at the end of the season for Quinn Ewers. I think his I'd say his days are completely numbered in Miami, but what are they going to do with him? They can't really trade him because of his contract. He's due so much cash that I don't know what they're going to do with him. They may end up having to release him and eat the cash, or do like a Broncos deal with the Steelers with Wilson, with Russell Wilson, and get rid of, basically pay him to go play on another team. That's probably their only option.
26, Kyler Murray should have played baseball. I know that he's being floated as maybe going to the Steelers, maybe going to the Jets. I don't see him fitting anywhere because of his stature, and the fact of the matter is his best asset is his speed. Why would you want to start with Kyler Murray after you've seen what he can do and he's really not shown anything? What do you think?
I think Kyler is not good, and I've never seen a quarterback get this long of a leash as a starter for a franchise, having done so little. This team was 3-14. He ended up getting benched even when he was healthy for Jacoby Brissett, even though they lost I think 9 in a row. They still didn't want to put him in. If they bring him back, I would be absolutely shocked. I think you cut him, you release him, you move on, and you take your losses. I've seen nothing from him that leads me to believe that he's going to take them anywhere. In fact, he's gotten worse over the past few years.
25th, they got Michael Penix. I agree with the rating, but I think most of that's because of his injury. We're coming up on the one that really shocked me because after his first year, at 24, they got Jaden Daniels. Now, after his first year, I mean, he was the second coming of everybody. Everybody's got the Commanders on the way up. He had an injury-filled season this year, and to drop him all the way down to 24, I think that's a little unfair. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, either he's good or he's not, because, the year before they talked about how great he was and how he had one of the greatest seasons of all time, and now he's no good. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. He did struggle in the 7 games that he played, but he only played in 7 games, so it's hard for me to even really evaluate his performance this year because he didn't play that much. And it seemed to me like towards the end of the year, he may have been available, but they chose to sit him anyway because of the team struggles. And that kind of blew me away, considering how young he is. I would want this guy to get as many snaps as possible, and in my opinion, should have played if he was healthy. But I'm still not ready to give up on him. I think he's still a good player, and hopefully he'll bounce back. But this year was definitely a disappointment.
23rd, they got Tyler Shaw, New Orleans Saints, the rookie, 2,300 yards, 10 TDs, 6 interceptions. Had a couple of really big games for him. I don't know if that's enough to jump him over Daniels, like you just broke down Daniels. But I guess that's where he belongs right now. What do you think about Tyler?
Yeah, I look at him based upon ceiling. This guy didn't end up starting until over halfway through the season, and put together some really good numbers, completed almost 70% of his passes, threw for 2,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. I saw enough out of this kid to lead me to believe that he may in fact be the franchise quarterback down there. He is leaps and bounds better than Spencer Rattler, and I think they found their guy. The problem is he's like 27 years old, so they better get some pieces around him quickly because Alvin Kamara is not getting any older, and Chris Olave needs some help. So I think if they can get some help around him, he'll be a good player, and he really, really made the Saints competitive down the stretch.
22nd, we got my man Jackson Dart. I think it's about right for him. 487 yards rushing, 5 interceptions, against 15 touchdown passes. The Giants, he's going to have to learn how to do judicious things like run out of bounds and duck and not get hit so much. But he now has a good coach with him, and hopefully he'll get the training he needs to get. And although they brought Brian Callahan in as a quarterback coach, maybe he's just there to help him with his golf swing, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but somebody needs to teach him how to slide, because he needs to learn that. But I liked what I saw out of him. I don't know if you've seen his girlfriend, but she is oh my God, look it up. She is smoking hot. Check out the pictures from them at the NFL honors ceremony. Oh my God, I can't even really talk about it. She is a freaking 12 out of 10.
Oh yeah, well, a lot of models in New York City.
21st, he got him one.
21st, Bryce Young, nice season for him. 23 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions, 3,000 yards. Got them into the playoffs. 6 game-winning drives. They said over the last 18 months, he really seemed to have turned a corner. Whether that will stick with him forever, I don't know. He's still smallish, but he does play in a weak division. Hopefully it stays weak where he can be competing. What do you think about him?
Yeah, they finally got him a wideout, and they got Ted McMillan in the first round. I think he was like a top 10 pick, and look what happened. He caught 70 passes for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. So if they can get him a couple more targets, maybe a tight end, maybe another wideout, I think he'll be just fine. He's getting benched and having some ups and downs, I think has made him a better player. And this guy, has got some talent, and I think he's on the right track.
Now, this guy, Baker Mayfield at 20. Let's face facts. I mean, yes, they ended the season playing badly as a team. 3,600 yards, 26 TDs, 11 interceptions. The reason they attack him here, they say significant injuries to his shoulder, knee, and key teammates like Mike Evans, which were openly reported. His accuracy dipped, turnovers rose, and scrambling disappeared after October, leaving fans to wonder if those injuries derailed his season. I mean, I don't see how you drop him into the bottom 12 of the quarterback ratings with what we're going to see ahead of him. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, the leading receiver on the team was Emeka Egbuka, who's a rookie, and the rest of their receivers were injured all year long. I mean, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin each had 300 yards and were rarely available, playing in like 8 games apiece, maybe. So, he was banged up, but his whole team was banged up, and that was really the problem. Not to mention they couldn't run the football again. They had 2 guys that ended up running for like 500 yards apiece when active. But that I don't put that on him. I think he should be way higher when he's healthy and he has healthy teammates. He's like at the beginning of the season, he looked really good.
Yeah, it seems like everybody just looks for the excuse to jump on Baker. They're just looking for, and here's another guy coming up on number 19, Jalen Hurts, a year removed from winning a Super Bowl and winning what is the 4th NFC East title in a row for them. He had 3,200 yards, 25 TDs passes. I mean, I don't know how you could drop him to 19. I don't get it.
Especially when they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
That wasn't his fault. He can't block and throw it. I thought he's a bona fide franchise quarterback, Super Bowl MVP. That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know who made this list, but that's a joke.
Aaron Rodgers is at 18. And I think Aaron Rodgers is always going to be marked on a hard curve because of what he was. But like you've been saying all year and last year, 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 66% of his passes he completed. What more can a 40-something-year-old quarterback do?
Yeah, I mean, with little help, he had one wide receiver in DK Metcalf who, got suspended at the most important part of the season for punching a fan. So, what would have been smart is if they would have kept their other wide receiver who they traded to Dallas, which I
And
don't.
Dallas wants to get rid of him.
Yeah, but I mean, and he's kind of a head case, but he had a hell of a season, with over almost 1,500 yards. And obviously, I'm talking about George Pickens. If they had kept George Pickens and DK Metcalf, the Steelers would have been cooking with gas. So I feel like they didn't do a whole lot to help Aaron Rodgers. It's like you're keeping all these old guys around. You're making one more run, and then you dump George Pickens. It made no sense, and I don't blame Aaron. Half the time the guys were running the wrong routes. Half the time they didn't know what to do, and he was having to tell them out, on the field, and he did everything he could.
Next, 17, CJ Stroud. Here's another guy who gets hard rated because his first year was so fantastic, but he missed 3 games because of a concussion. 3,000 yards, 19 touchdown passes, only 8 interceptions. It wasn't like he threw a lot of interceptions. I think this guy put this rating together after the playoffs because he's another one. 65% of his passes with a 92.9 rating. How can you put him right there in the middle of the league?
Yeah, especially when they had no running back. Their running back, the guy that played so well for so long, Joe Mixon for the Bengals, hurt himself in the offseason and never was able to report to the team. So they were out there rolling with a 5th-round draft pick, Woody Marks, and a busted-up Nick Chubb. And what happens? C.J. Stroud leads them to the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row and wins won the division the first 2. So, did he play bad in that playoff game? Yep.
Yeah.
But they were playing against a Super Bowl contending team. It was snowing, and he was trying to do too much. They didn't have any, they had injuries galore at wide receiver. Nobody was healthy for the entire season. And, he needs some help on the offensive line. They haven't been able to get the offensive lines corrected for his entire career there. And if they don't fix that, he's not going to take off like he could because he needs time to throw it.
And then at 16, you got Bo Nix. I mean, great season, 4,000 yards, 25 touchdown passes, 7 game-winning drives. All you had to do was look at that New England game to figure out his worth with Denver, and he's only 16th.
Yeah, I don't understand that. He's done he's done a great job since he got there, and they were the number 1 seed in the NFL playoffs. I don't know what else you want to see from him. He's not a stat machine, but he wins games, and that's, I think, what the point is.
And they got Joe Burrow just above him. Turf toe again. Injuries have been his lot in life. 1,800 yards, 17 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions, 63 quarterback rating. But he's judged on a higher scale, and I think it's just I can't believe his coach is coming back because they're wasting him.
Yeah, well, they're going to continue to waste him with that guy at the helm. And every other coach in their division got rid of their coach except Zach Taylor, and that made no sense to me. But Joe Burrow's Joe Burrow, and as long as he's healthy, he's good.
Okay, Jared Goff, only 14th for Jared Goff, 4,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and started every game. I know they were 9-8. That's disappointing. Didn't make the playoffs, but I think that's too hard a curve on Jared Goff.
Yeah, he played well and did his best. They had some issues with Ragnow retiring, and obviously they had a ton of problems on defense. So I wouldn't put it on him. He's played very well since getting traded over there.
13th, Caleb Williams. I'll leave that at that. I mean, he did show massive improvement over his rookie year. Mm-hmm. A lot of late game magic. Got the Bears to the playoffs, so you can't take anything away from Caleb. I was never a big supporter of him, but I'm going to say as of right now, this year he proved me wrong. We'll see what he does after this.
Yep.
Number 12, Lamar Jackson, another one that's just like, I understand he had not his usual year this year. It's only 2,500 yards passing, 21 touchdowns. He had injuries with his hamstring and his back injury, and Baltimore didn't make the playoffs. Another one who's judged is he judged fairly on the curve he's judged on?
Yeah, I mean, he did struggle a little bit at times this year, and the biggest thing to me was running the football. 67 carries for 349 yards. That's not terrible, but he only had 2 rushing touchdowns, and his long run of the year was 19 yards. That to me concerns me. If he's going to win a Super Bowl, he's got to be able. I don't want him running the ball 10 times a game, but he needs to run it 4 or 5 times a game or 7 times a game and pick up first downs, score touchdowns, make big plays, and slide.
Yeah. And then ahead of him, now here's the one that I'm sorry. Daniel Jones, I felt good for him with the start they got. He threw for 3,100 yards, 19 TDs. They were talking to me early about being an MVP. Then, of course, the injury bug came up, fractured his leg, tore his Achilles, end of the Colts. But, I mean, I wouldn't put Daniel Jones ahead of Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I mean, come on. That's yeah, he had a nice start, but I'm sorry. I just can't see that.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, he started the year strong, but there's 17 games in a season, and good luck coming back from an Achilles tendon when your biggest quality was run the football. I think that's way too high for him, and I'm concerned about him moving forward.
10th, Dak Prescott. I think he belongs just about there. Dak is probably the 10th best quarterback in football. He is what he is. Regular season, phenomenal. If he makes it to the playoffs, you got to question him. But he puts up stats. He does what he has to do down in Dallas. Not always surrounded with the best talent, but he made 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns. And he's usually got freaks around him. So we'll go with that. Number 9, Jordan Love. Another one. Can you put him ahead of Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow?
No, not even close. I don't. The guy must be on crack.
And then number 8, Brock Purdy. I mean, I root for Brock Purdy. I rooted for him in Iowa State. I like the kid. I think, but he's another one with injuries.
Yeah, it's way too high. Mac Jones started 8 games and won 5 of them. So I think that's way too high. He didn't even play, half the season, and we're putting him up above Joe Burrow. Yeah, no thanks.
And here's another one that makes this list ridiculous. Number 7, Josh Allen. Even in what many considered a down year, Josh Allen stayed dangerous. He totaled 3,600 yards passing with 25 touchdowns, including 14 scores on the ground. How can you say he had a down year?
Yeah, 39 touchdowns and he sucks? No.
Yeah. I mean, he did everything he can. And he put Trevor Lawrence ahead of Josh Allen. Nothing against Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence isn't Josh Allen, not yet. 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. No. This is when I like I said, I know you can't put everybody in the top 5 or top 10, but number 5, Drake May. Okay, yeah, he had a great year. I guess he should be in top 10. I don't know if number 5, Drake May. 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns. I mean, I guess we talked about him.
I'm okay with him, but I still don't know if he's better than Josh Allen. He had a good year, but yeah, some of this list is trash.
Number 4, Justin Herbert. Nothing against Justin Herbert. He started 16 or 17 games, 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. This is where this guy's this list. When I looked at this, that's why I wanted to go over with you. Number 3, he kept Pat Mahomes up. Now I might have dropped Pat Mahomes a little bit down lower this year, just because he didn't have a Pat Mahomes year. 3,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's not usually a Pat Mahomes year. I mean, he's still one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football whenever he's healthy. But you're gonna punish Josh Allen, but you're gonna put Pat Mahomes still up at number 3.
Yeah, I don't know. He was not as magical this year at all, and once again, he got hurt too, and missed the end of the season. But they weren't going anywhere even before he got hurt.
Number 2, Matt Stafford. I think he should be number 1.
He is number 1. There's no debate. You look at the season that he had. He had one of the best seasons in the history of the NFL, and made everybody on his team better. He threw for almost 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and only had 8 interceptions. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. That's why he won the MVP.
And number 1, he put Sam Darnold. Look. I mean, if you just, I mean,
that's a joke.
I don't know. Not even Madden football ratings would rate him like that.
No,
I don't get it.
It
is. But when I saw it, I had to go over that with you and just say when I saw Darnold number 1, I was like, huh?
No, not even close. He led the NFL in turnovers.
Right. He's a great story. Don't make him more than he is. He's a great story. So,
yep.
As we wrap up this show today, what kind of things? What excites you about the offseason? What one person or one thing are you looking at this offseason? Because we're going to do a lot coming up. I don't want to, we got to break down the teams and stuff like that as we head to the draft. What one storyline would you like to see happen for football this coming year?
Stop talking about Shedeur Sanders. That'd be the best thing for me. I mean, the guy's done absolutely nothing, and we put him in the Pro Bowl and talk about him like he's Lamar Jackson. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would like to. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would be a good story. I mean, I would like to see Joe Burrow finally get a team like we thought he had his second year that he could ride. There's a lot of good The thing about quarterbacks that I see right now, and this always runs through my mind. That list just brought it to my mind even more, because every year we talk about quarterbacks coming out. Where's this quarterback going to go? Where's that quarterback going to go? And of course, places like the Jets, the Raiders, seem to need their quarterback. Arizona needs a quarterback. But a lot of these guys have quarterbacks. If they're not superstars, they are functional and they can win some games for them. So every year when we talk about the draft and you get Mel Kiper, and of course, it's the most high-profile position in all of sports. But right now, I think there is kind of, when you go even over that list, I mean, Indianapolis is another place that comes up. But there's not a lot of openings for teams that need quarterback. What do you think about when we're going to be thinking about the draft? What team really, outside of the 4 I just mentioned, what team do you think really needs a quarterback?
Pittsburgh.
Okay,
Pittsburgh for sure. Cleveland still needs one.
6.
I don't think they have one. The Raiders we already mentioned. Yep. Arizona.
Jets.
The Jets always need one. I would say the Vikings.
I forgot about that.
Need one, but they're probably going to stick with him one more year just because they drafted him and they're embarrassed about it. And the Dolphins.
Okay, so we got 8 teams.
Yep.
So that's, what is that, a fourth of the league? So 25% of the league need a quarterback. But that's pretty damn good when you think about it, that 75% of the teams in football have either a quarterback they think they can build into a franchise quarterback or have their franchise quarterback. That's not a bad situation for the NFL to be in.
That's good, especially since there's not many in this draft.
That's right. All right, my friend, what do you got going on this weekend?
Just chilling, man, taking it easy. Got a big show on Saturday, so hopefully somebody will come and buy some cards.
There you go. Enjoy yourself, and I will talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. See you.
All right, bye.